Hi, this is Chip Snuff from Enuff Znuff, and I'm blowing it up on Capital Chaos TV. So turn it up.
You are number 666.
Good, I'm over here at Chicago Recording Company. I'm producing an artist named Mark Bon Jovi. And you got Chance the Rapper over here. You got Greta Van Fleet in here. A lot of different bands tracking in different rooms. So it's a nice celebration of life here. It's this great recording studio where everyone's recorded here, okay? Pearl Jam and the guys in Led Zeppelin and Guns N' Roses. Everybody's been over at this studio. It's just absolute. It's the pinnacle of what Chicago has to offer for recording studios.
And you are in Chicago, or I noticed your area code is Las Vegas.
Yeah, I got a Vegas number only because I lost a bet to my manager, and I had to get a new phone, and I took his Vegas number.
Oh wow, bet.
Yeah, it wasn't a good bet. I lost that bet. That's why I had a Vegas number. That's okay though. But I'm a Chicago lad at heart. Been here all my whole life. That's where I put Enuff Znuff together back in the old days. So still going strong here, and I got some good relationships with the recording studio out here.
What would you have won had you won? You said you lost the bet.
If I would have won, I would have got a 312 or 708 area code and $100, a C note. Yeah, who doesn't love C notes? It's one of my favorite pieces of currency in the world. Crisp $100 bill, you can buy quite a few things with that.
Absolutely. It's a whole lot of lap dances.
You think just like I do. We're from the same school. Because if you tell me you don't love Trim, then you're probably not playing in a rock and roll band. Just imagine if all the girls were taken out of the world. There'd be no rock bands. That's it. Put a fork in it. We're done. No one's going. But the women are the ones that make it tick in this business. That's for sure. That's why us men come out there. Of course, we love rock. The metal guys love their metal. The hard rock is always loyal beyond belief. But it all starts out with the Trim. And when you're at the shows, that makes it exciting for me.
Yeah, without the Trim, you just have a bunch of drug addicts and alcoholics without direction.
Yeah, well, I can deal with them too. Trust me. Remember, I'm the singer in Enuff Znuff. I've been through all that stuff before. I used to live with Adler from Guns N' Roses, okay? We lived together for 6 years in Studio City, and what a wonder. I loved living with him. It was great. And we had a beautiful pad out there. Guns N' Roses provided him with a pretty good life. And all I would do is, when we weren't on tours, I'd get up in the morning and there he was watching Family Guy or American Dad or The Simpsons. He loved his cartoons and nothing else went on that TV except cartoons all day and night. Drove me crazy, okay? But when it came down to the tours, those shows were packed with all different people of different walks of life. And they all came out there in droves. And boy, a lot of great experiences on those tours. Travel around the country in a tour bus, hanging out, playing Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction every single night. Quite a challenge, I'll tell you. Those jagoffs wrote those songs in their 20s. They're full of piss and vinegar. And to go out when you're double that age and go out and play those songs, it takes a lot out of you. Really powerful, but great experience. I love that. So, hey, rock and roll is still flourishing, my friend. Everything's going good. It went from the old days of Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard and Poison and to now the new phase of rock and roll, which is Greta Van Fleet and Rival Sons and the Great Struts. Some really good bands out there that are carrying the torch. And I hope they get a chance to experience what we did because there's novels inside of all of us musicians.
Absolutely. Last year I got the chance to see both Guns N' Roses as well as Greta Van Fleet, and both bands are amazing.
Yeah, they bring it every single night, man. It's funny to hear these guys. Axl's still singing his ass off, and I just love him and Slash back together again in Duff. And those shows, those guys aren't just going through the motions. They're not just mailing it in. They're showing up and they're playing for 3 hours every single night. That's a real rock band. There's not many bands like that. Well, Foo Fighters, they go out and they'll play for 2-3 hours a night too. And of course, Bruce Springsteen. There's a few of them out there that bring out those long shows and have tons of energy. But for the most part, you know, when you go see your favorite band play and they're a support band, they're only going to get an hour, so if they're lucky. So you make the most of it. That's what you have to do, because you don't get a second chance on a first impression.
Well, how did you first get into music as a youth? Was it from radio or television?
I got to be honest with you, both, but more television than anything. We had, as a young kid, I had Don Kirshner's rock concert. I had the Midnight Special with Wolfman Jack. And, of course, when we were little kids, if any of us were born back then, you had some of those earlier shows like Ed Sullivan Show, which showcased tons of bands, and you could see anybody playing on them. And then later on, it worked its way around where we had shows that would come on the weekends, and they would showcase the favorite bands, the rock bands, whether it was Iron Maiden or Alice Cooper, which was always great live. Those guys wore more lipstick and makeup than Marilyn Monroe. They also wore her clothes as well, and they were just over the top and fantastic. And it just worked its way through until we got to MTV back in 1981, where they started playing bands. And bands like Enuff Z'Nuff had to wait. We waited 7-8 years before we got a break, and got lucky, and there was some people down at MTV, most notably one of the programmers, Rick Krim, who actually took a chance on Enuff Z'Nuff. He loved bands like Dan Reed Network and Jellyfish. And he was the guy that said, okay, you know what, I'm going to give this a chance. I'm going to give you guys a couple spins and see how people react. And the great thing about the music business, and it's always been this way, is the fans are the ones that make the decisions. And they spoke real loudly, and we were able to have a couple of very successful songs on that network. And then here we are now in the 21st century. Not many places. You got Vivo and you got YouTube that play the videos. And if you can get on the shows, if you're lucky enough to get on Conan O'Brien or Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert or those talk shows or late night with Jules Holland, boy, that's the ticket right there. Or a Howard Stern show, which is huge too as well. Any of those shows will help elevate your perception as an artist. But at the end of the day, bro, it's about making a great record and then taking it to the streets and playing great shows every single night. That's the template of today's music business.
Do you come from a family that was interested in music and culture?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my father, you know, he's in the military in the late 50s. He was a track star. And, of course, he listened to bands like Black Sabbath and The Doors. And he loved Janis Joplin. And he mixed them between my mother and him. They had a pretty illustrious history with music. Turned me on to Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. And so, yeah, that's where it all started. And for most kids, it's like that, too. Our moms and dads are the ones that started. We can't stand what they're playing at first. Like, what are they listening to? And as you get older, you realize that really set the tone for a future for me. And that's why a lot of us, we love what our parents listen to, because those records are timeless.
And what was the local music scene like in the beginning for Enuff Z'Nuff? Was there a particular band that you aspired to be like, whether it be local or national? Was there a local band? In the early days of Enuff Z'Nuff, there was a few bands that we loved just coming out of the box. One of them was Cheap Trick. Always loved them. They're terrific. There was another band called Off Broadway. Absolutely terrific. Anybody get a chance to check them out? What a great band. Way ahead of their time. But the Chicago music scene was real finicky back then. Bands weren't helping each other. It certainly changed a lot now and 30 years later. But yeah, in the old days, playing clubs, we were 18, 19 years old. You know, we had to have our parents walk us in because you couldn't be around alcohol, of course, at that age. There was a 21 and over limit. For a couple of years, they switched it where it was 18 and up, and that the clubs were jam-packed and flourishing. But maybe it was a little too young to change those laws. But the band started coming into Chicago. It's such a huge city and so vibrant and full of love, throbbing with life. And, in the 80s, bands started coming through Chicago and playing lots of shows. And I've seen everybody. You know, I got a chance in the late 70s, early 80s to see Thin Lizzy and Queen when they came through. Van Halen on their first tour opening for Journey. And even before that, I got a chance to see bands like the Runaways with Joan Jett and Lita Ford, and Angel, there's an old band, and
You know what? If I look through all my ticket stubs, I can't tell you all the bands. Early Alice Cooper, Billy Squire when he had his first band. It was just throbbing out here. I'm going to see Rush and Mahogany Rush and Kiss. And I've seen Queen 4 times in Chicago. So, yeah, I've been really lucky, bro. I remember sleeping outside at Chicago Stadium at 1800 West Madison with my buddy Billy Fawcett, who used to work with Cheap Trick. And we slept overnight outside in the cold waiting for Queen tickets to go on sale at 9 o'clock in the morning. You can only buy 4 tickets at a time. Now there's scalpers and everybody else pillaging, trying to get them and lifting those prices up beyond belief. But back then I could go see a great band play like Queen or Thin Lizzy for $5. It was unbelievable. And, of course, there was no meet and greets back then, but the concerts were great. You had 15,000 people and everybody smoking pot, passing joints back to each other. You could drink in the venues. There was no problem. Now, a lot of handcuffs out there. There's a lot of things you can't do that you used to be able to do, but I'm lucky to say I got a chance to live those days and be able to see those great bands like Aerosmith and Ted Nugent playing shows and kicking ass in front of 10, 15,000 people for $5. Boy, I wish those days came back again, but then nobody'd make any money.
You guys started in 1984 in the Chicago area. At what point did you move to L.A.? What point did you move to the industry town?
We started in 84, yeah, but we didn't get a record deal till 1989. We were discovered by Doc McGee. We were in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin doing our demo tapes, and he came in there with his brother Scott, and they were doing a band called Skid Row. And, you know, back then, everybody was out of control. We were all getting hired and fucked. There's so much cocaine and drinking and burning the can at both ends. I don't know how we found time to make those records with all the partying that we did. And all the monster rock would come through town and would play at Alpine Valley. And, you know, 50,000 people out there seeing all the great groups, you know, the Van Halens and the Dawkins and everybody on stage together. It was really Leonard Skinner. Boy, I'll tell you, those are great moments. But we made the record in '89. That was our first album with the help of Doc McGee and our manager Bob Brigham at the time, and we were in Royal Recorders in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. That started everything off for us. But before that, those 5 years previous to that, we were opening shows for everybody. We'd open for whoever came to town. We just played for free. We didn't care. We just wanted to reach an audience. And it was Bachman Turner Overdrive coming through or Cheap Trick. We'd open the shows for those bands, and it's probably one of the reasons we have so much love for them, because not only does those bands write great songs, but they take a chance and let us support them on shows, and that really helped Enuff Z'Nuff elevate our perception and get a chance to get recognized by some major people. And, you know, in 1989, we came out with that record, and August 22nd, 1989 was my first record. We were kids. We were little kids. And it came out, new thing, and Fly Michelle were 2 really strong songs for us that were very successful. And here I am now, all these years later, still chasing that fucking carrot.
And 1989, there was a lot of great albums. The Skid Row debut came out that year. White Snake had a big hit that year. There was a lot of great albums that came out that year. Did you get to, as well as yours, obviously, did you get to enjoy the fruits of the success of that first album? Was it all worth between 89 and 91?
Well, let me tell you, back then when those records came out, we certainly respect those bands and we admire their strut, but we weren't looking at them at all. We were just making records for ourselves and trying to come up with our own sound and our own timbre, so to speak. And I think that by not focusing on the Motley Crues and White Snakes and the Poison and stuff, it set us apart from those bands. And those bands sold many more records than we did, and they did very well. But a lot of them are real close together in sound and quality, and they're all terrific at what they do. I think we just looked at our own. We went back to the real, went far to the past and looked at more of the stuff from England and over in Europe. Those are the bands that really excited us and had a wonderful, unique sound. And I think that's what we grabbed onto. And once again, you know, talking about going back to my mother and father, they had a lot of stuff to do with what we listened to as well. You know, they let us listen to those records, those heavy records that were considered maybe a little dangerous, you know, from the old Black Sabbath stuff or or the heavier, Led Zeppelin stuff. And I think that because and the whole potpourri of listening to different bands really helped shape our sound. And it wasn't just rock stuff. We listened to Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, and the old stuff that people that was just gravitating to, that was a crossover between with pop and rock and R&B. And I think that mixture was the catalyst for how Enuff Z'Nuff sounds today in this day and age. I remember sitting home with my dad listening to Sly and the Family Stone, and we'd go through the whole record, and then we'd put on Woodstock in 1969, listen to all the Jimi Hendrix and Country Joe and the Fish, and those are great moments, and I think that stuck with us.
And you have a new album coming out. Excuse me. You have a new album coming out next Friday. How did the cover art come about, and the kind of stories for the new record, Diamond Boy?
Yeah, we went to an art director and gave him an idea, and obviously we thought it was important to incorporate our logo, which is the peace sign. And it always set us apart from a lot of the bands image-wise. And just because it's a peace sign doesn't mean we're a bunch of pussies. We believe in peace and love, and everybody can get along. It doesn't matter if you're a metal band or a rock band, R&B, punk, alternative, pop. It all works together. I think that we're living, breathing reason why we push those elements in our music and with our image. And the peace sign looks cool. It means cool things. That's it. And we thought it would be important to not let people, we want everybody to know that this is the band. And, that's just the album. When you put the record on the turntable or you put a CD in the deck, you don't see chicks shaking their asses and smoke machines and people having a great time. You just hear the music and the songs. And that's what it's all about for us at the end of the day, just coming up with a nice collection of great songs on one record, not writing one song in a singles world where you just put it one song at a time. I wanted to make a great record and go back to the old aesthetics of what bands used to do in the old days. And if you only got 6 or 7 great songs, that's all you put on the record. We got lucky. We came up with a lot of pretty strong ones, and it's a good representation. I think the record flows. It's one positive, long thought. And it's not just an archival record, but it's songs that we're picking off the bones of all of our favorite bands. And as I've said before, my friend, you show me a guy without influences, I'll show you a guy who hasn't written one fucking note, okay, or doesn't have a record deal. So it's a strong representation of what we're about right now in this record. I think it's our 16th studio album, 21st album. And we're going to take this all around the world. We're going to go around every country and play all these songs, and we'll see how everybody reacts to them. But right now, it's been great. The journalists have spoken, the fans have spoken, and people seem to be real excited about what the future holds for Enuff Z'Nuff.
Why does Dope Sick follow Faith, Hope, and Love?
Well, all the songs are different. You can interpret them any way you want to. Faith, hope, and love are 3 words that we all should have in our vocabulary, I believe, or at least most of us. And Dope Sick is a story about anybody that's going through the parallels of substance abuse. And I think they're both relatable songs there. So a lot of people out there are struggling with their sobriety, and perhaps there's something in the song that would help provide an answer on how to fix yourself.
Do you think a lot of people suffer from not doing a thorough self-check?
I think people are suffering, period. And that's one of the great benefits of being in a rock band and being able to take the songs and go out and play in everybody's hometown. And for the people that are suffering to get out and see that there's a life out there and there's excitement and let their hair down and forget about those problems for a little while and for an hour or two. Absolutely. It's very therapeutic. Rock and roll music, all music itself is very good for the soul for most people. When I meet somebody and they say to me, I'm not a big music fan, it's real tough for me to get through that exterior and be able to embrace them, because almost everyone I know likes music in some form. But there's got to be something you like. If you don't like music, I don't know what the problem. I don't know how to fix that, really, to be honest with you. Maybe self-medication, but I think for the most part, a lot of people love music, bro, and it provides a happiness and a therapy that it's hard to find with anything else. It's one of the best drugs in the world. I know it's mine.
I agree with you there, brother. Now, your album comes out next Friday. Is there any special editions, like toys, posters, bonus tracks? Will it be on vinyl? There's some special goodies in store for us?
Yeah, the record released in all formats, and not only through social media, like, you know, Deezer and iTunes and Apple Music and all that stuff, but you can also get it through EnuffZnuff.com, EnuffZnuff.com, our website, or you can come to the shows. And we sell records at the shows, and we sign them all, and you get an autograph. You can't get an autograph at a record store. And, you know, for the stores that are out there holding our records, I got to give them a nice shout out. There's still like Zed Records in Las Vegas and Rolling Stone here in Chicago and all the mom and pop stores, Sugar Records. There's a lot of good stuff out there. People are still going out and buying records. Don't think they're not. If you can't get them at the stores and you can't find it online the way you want a physical copy, your best bet to go see your favorite bands. The records will be on sale at the shows. That's the new day and age we live in right now. You want to go see your favorite band? Hey, you can buy the record as well, and you can get an autograph. Everybody sign it. That's pretty cool. And it's released in all formats too, by the way. It's you can get it on CD, and you can also get it on vinyl.
Awesome. Do you yourself collect vinyl?
Got tons of vinyl, bro. I don't listen to it a lot like I should. Although when I'm in the studio, I'm making records on 2-inch tape. But for the most part, it's a little more convenient for me to listen to the CDs. But of course I do. Vinyl sounds great. I love the pops and skips and little idiosyncrasies. And those records are warm sounding. I love putting the whole ritual of putting the record on a turntable. Very exciting to me, and it is to a lot of people. In the old days, we'd go buy a record. Everybody would wait until midnight, go to the store, pick up the record, bring it back to the house. We'd all sit around the table, have a beer or smoke a joint or just kick back and relax and gather that experience. All the bands that are putting records out, they're all spending tens of thousands of dollars to make these records. They want us to make it sound fidelity-wise the best they can. And it's a real experience. So when I think about putting vinyl out, I was real excited. It's the first vinyl record that Enuff Z'Nuff has released in 20 years. You know, first couple albums were vinyl. I think the first 3 we put on vinyl. After that, it was all CD and cassettes. And, you know, I'm so grateful that Frontiers Records took time out and said, hey, we're going to put this out in all formats for you guys. And I get out there and tour and go bringing the music to the streets. That's what we're doing, bro.
Where was the new album recorded at? And who did you work with on the new record?
New records recorded here in Chicago at Chicago Recording Company, one of the cornerstones of studios around the country. Everybody's recorded here, from Queen, Guns N' Roses, Cheap Trick, Smashing Pumpkins, Wilco, Greta Van Fleet. The newer bands come out here. Everyone's been making records over at this place. And Michael Jackson was in here making it. He made Thriller over here. It's a great recording studio. Led Zeppelin, Plant Page came in here and did the whole record. Nirvana. The list goes on and on. One of the greatest studios in the country, and that's where I'm making the record right now. As a matter of fact, I'm here recording a guy named Mark Bon Jovi, and right across from me is Chance the Rapper. So it's hip hop and rap and rock in the same building. I love it, and it's throbbing with life. And we're celebrating Lollapalooza today, so there's 3 days of 150 bands playing 8 stages. So it's right down the street from us. So it's pretty cool, bro. Rock is not going anywhere.
No, not anytime soon. Now you're about to hit the road with Jack Russell and the Bullet Boys. Do you have a history with these bands? Are you familiar with their music or know any of their songs?
Absolutely, bro. Big fan of Jack Russell's Great White. Wonderful singer. He'll be playing Save All Your Love and Once Bitten, Twice Shy on this tour. And Bullet Boys from Los Angeles, they'll be doing Smooth Opinion for the Love of Money. We'll, of course, be doing Every Single Night Baby Loves You and New Thing and Fly Michelle. And it's Sirius XM Hair Nation Tour, sponsored through Live Nations. It's a big company, playing huge rooms, for us. And right in the middle of the road, we're not playing our sheds and arenas and stadiums like Guns N' Roses, but that's okay. 1,500 seaters, 2,000 seaters, Wiltern theaters, Paramount theaters, all the House of Blueses, with a really reasonably priced ticket. And it's going to be a celebration of Sunset Strip. Imagine all the women that are going to be coming out to these shows. It's going to be jam-packed. I can't wait to play. It all starts September 12th. Eddie Trunk from Sirius XM, Channel 39 and Channel 106, I think it's called. He has two different stations on there. Volume is the other station. He'll be co-hosting most of the shows. And we start off in San Diego, House of Blues, and work our way around the country, September through November. 42 dates, bro. This is pretty good. All three bands have brand new albums out. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Do you anticipate getting up on stage with the Bullet Boys with Jack Russell and singing a song with them, or possibly does that kind of stuff still go on? Or does it
sure,
go
I've
on?
sat in with Jack. I've done that before. I've sat in with Jack Russell. We did Once Bitten, Twice Shy, the old Ian Hunter Mott the Hoople song. That was a smash hit for them. So yeah, I see us. Maybe Jack will come up and sing New Thing with me. That'd be great. Bullet Boys, Mark, he likes to be in charge. He's the boss. But I've sat in with him as well and played shows. So all the bands, we get along fairly well. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what the future holds. I can't predict what's going to happen, but I will tell you, all the shows will be jam-packed out there. And there'll be a lot of women at the shows, burn the candle at both ends. And I'm sure all the bands will get together and we'll probably do a big jam.
Cool. Just a few more questions. Are there parts of the world or the United States that Enuff Z'Nuff are more popular in than others?
Well, Japan. We've always done well out there. It's a big country out there, the Far East, Pacific Rim. Fans come out in droves out there. We've always headlined all our shows. In Japan, we play nice, good-sized rooms. So that's a great place to play. I'd like to go to Australia with this record. I think that'd be nice. That's one country we haven't seen, but everywhere else we pretty much play. We've been everywhere. Maybe going over to Russia too. I wouldn't mind doing that. That's really spreading your wings. But there's still a couple bucket list places that we'd like to play.
And what keeps you passionate about Enuff Z'Nuff after all these years or decades?
I love writing songs. I love the songwriting process. I love making records, and I love more than anything going out and supporting the records on tour. That's what keeps me going. And at the end of the day, that's the legacy for Chip Z'Nuff. As I made all these albums and I tour around the country, I play on, not to brag or sound immodest, but I've been lucky enough to either play or record on over 100 records. I've worked with tons of guys, from not only recording with the guys from Pumpkins or Cheap Trick or guys in Guns N' Roses or Missing Persons or Kanye West, Malik Yosef, and Twista. I've mixed it up, bro. Hip hop, rap, punk, pop. Doesn't matter what it is. I've been on a lot of different stuff. One day I should have that. That discography should be up so I can let people know all the records that I've played and performed on, because I'm certainly proud of my legacy. But at the end of the day, it's all about the music and when it's all said and done. And I still think there's a lot more music left in us.
And what does rock and roll mean to you?
That's my whole life. It's what I've been doing forever since I've been a little kid, is making music and recording records and touring around the country. So I started out 17 years old, graduated from Brother Rice High School, and the first thing I did was I got in the car and drove all the way to Los Angeles, and with $250 in my pocket, and I was in a band called Degeneration. And our first shows we were playing with bands like the Dickies and the Dead Boys, and then all of a sudden I went on tour with and did big festival dates with Grateful Dead and Boss Gags, and I've been bitten by a disease ever since. I've been playing with the Babies, the original Babies, Alice Cooper. I've gotten a chance to play some pretty cool shows and nice venues, and here I am now, still a fairly young man, and I'm able to go out and tour around the country supporting my records. So with big, huge bands, this tour right here, this Live Nations Presents Serious Hair Nation tour, those bands collectively sold about 20 million records. I'm grateful to be in good company right now.
And what are the top 5 songs of all time?
Top 5 songs of all time? Well, you're really giving me an ass whooping right now, aren't you? Putting me on the spot, my friend. Hocus Pocus by Focus.
1.
Alice Cooper, Only Women Bleed.
2.
The Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
3.
Cheap Trick. It's a toughie. Surrender.
And 5.
Oh, Led Zeppelin, In the Lights.
I'm on a trip.